Hi everyone. Yeah, yeah. I like to talk about different things that I feel, and everybody has feelings. Most people they shut them off. Feelings they have, things they never really understood. All of us in this life, there are things that we just cannot understand. And I've always been a person, I'm multi-dimensional. I'm not completely in the physical life. And I was this way even as a child. I'm like in the spirit, in a spirit dimension, an earthbound spirit dimension, and the physical life, like I was before I was born. And see, I still have all my memories of when I was earthbound spirit for 3 years before I was born, after I died from my past life in 1953, I believe it was. And even remember my wife from back then, Ethel. Oh man, the memories, the memories. And when I was killed in my last life in 1953, I was only 33 years old. But I remember that time gap where I would just float over houses and I could look and see the inner structure and the people. Some I would stop and just go inside the house and just watch what people would do, curiosity, different things that I found interesting. And I brought a lot of that with me when I was born into this life in February of 1956, to where, people, like some men can be talking about football or politics up at the station that my friend Nick owns. I can look at them, and some of them I can see actual demons that are in them. I can see they're demons. And that makes those demons uncomfortable. And so those people that I see demons in them, they will start acting fearful of me. And they'll get fidgety and nervous. Because those demons know I can see them. See, and those things, they don't want people to know that they exist. That's one of Satan's weapons, is for people to think that he doesn't really exist. That's how they operate. See, and they can fool people. But what I want to talk about in this video is something I cannot put together. Now, I don't know about all of us, but some of us choose our parents that we want to be born by. And I remember it was in the year 1955, about a year before I was born, that I wanted to be born through the mother I have in this life that is now deceased and has been since November of last year. I chose that. I chose it. And I also knew when I made this choice that my dad was an evil creep, like I said in my previous video. But I wanted to be born through her because I know she wanted a third child, but she was told she couldn't have another child. And she already had two daughters, which were my two sisters, and she wanted a boy real bad. And I thought, I'm going to be reborn through her in spite of that evil creep, uh, which was my dad. And I did. I accepted the terms, even though one of my elders told me, if you're born in, you'd be better off to stay a spirit. Because if you're reborn, there's going to be a lot of hardships, but you will live to be very old. Well, I'm getting not very, very old, but I'm old. I'm, oh God, right at 68 years old now. Oh boy, boy, boy. Ah, I love the way I feel at my age. It's just concerns, worrying. Will something horrible happen, like cancer or shit that old people get? you know. I worry about shit like that, you know. 'Cause I've never known anybody that just went to sleep and died a peaceful death. No, it always has to be months, years of suffering and agony where they go, you know, shit. Oh man, and that's something I try not to think about, you know, but I sort of land on it. Oh shit. But here's something, man, I cannot figure out. I can't figure out. Now, I remember in my pre-birth experiences, there was a house down the street that I was born into in Freeway Manor subdivision here in Houston. But it was during about the year 1954, the earlier part of 1955. And I'd go into a house to where this man and this woman would be fighting. And I would influence his mind to be good, to not fight with her. And I remember there was always a demon there too. And he would let the demon guide him and make him be mean to her. I remember he was short but muscular and stocky. She was skinny and thin. I remember that. And I remember, but even though I've never been in that house, it's only 3 houses away from the house I was born in, about a quarter mile from there. I know the whole layout of that house, people. I know the whole layout of that house. But man, I'll tell you what, wow. But there was a woman, okay, like Thurman, where I was born into, runs this way. And then vertical to Thurman, you had Globe, Lasky, and Marlene Street. Within walking distance, the kids would walk those streets and had other kids they were friends with. Well, to the left of the front of our house, I remember I'd walk down just the end of Thurman, and I never usually walked down on Marlene Street. Mm-mm. But there was a boy named Buddy, and I remember he may not have been deformed, but he kind of freaked me out because his ears were overly big. His ears were too big. And yeah, that was kind of strange, and he acted kind of strange. So I never followed him home to meet his parents or whatever, like I did most kids, you know. That say, oh, come see our house, you know. I just never did. But I just happened to be out, and he'd be out, you know, around Thurman at Marlene on the corner there, and I'd be, oh, hi, buddy, you know. I remember that. But there's this bond connection. There's a bond connection. Not with him. Piss on him. He was kind of arrogant kid. I never once walked up within anywhere from 30 feet close to his mother. And I don't think his dad was living in a house that was on Marlene. I don't think so. So she may have been widowed, or he may have just left her, you know, or whatever. But I remember, she wasn't attractive, so I don't have a sexual attraction. No. No, because she was not only not attractive, she was actually someone, if they were in bed with me, I'd get up and get the hell out. I mean, you know, she was ugly. She was kind of fat, or fat. She was fat. Shorter. She had long straight hair that she'd just let hang down her back. And the only garment she ever wore, I remember from the time I was maybe 6 or 7 old, up to about 13, would be a potato sack dress. No ruffles, no belt that went in the middle, no designs like flowers or design. No. It'd just be a flat tan or a flat light gray of a, looked like a thinner wool. You know, it was like thick, just a potato sack dress. As to where she may have just sewed these together herself. Because in those days that was common, because I remember at Woolworth, women would go by patterns. They'd have a picture of a dress on the pattern package, and they would buy that, and inside it had all this stuff you had unraveled, you know, and it would show how to cut, how many inches for your size to make a dress, okay? That's probably what was going on there. And I remember she drove a 1955 white Chevrolet station wagon. And when she'd drive that down the street where I lived on Thurman, I remember it would make, you know, rattling sounds that were coming from the wheels. That was common back then. That was very, very common. Okay. And then, of course, you know, see where she would be coming from Marlene, coming the curve around onto Thurman, where I lived, and then it would dead end at Globe, and then she'd turn right. And even though I never ran to see where her car was going, I know where she was going. She was going to Minnie Mac's grocery store. That when you turn right on Grove, you'd go over this slight bridge where the Bayou ditch was, and then you'd go to a street, a dead-end street. You'd turn left, take a right at the next street, and go right into the parking lot of the Minnie Mac's grocery store. I know she was going there. And I would see this about 3 times a week during the day. I would always just happen to be outside to see this. All right, now, I was never in that house. I never even walked with Buddy down to that house. But I knew the layout of that house for some reason. There was some kind of bond, a connection. And again, it had nothing to do with that boy, Buddy, because actually, he was kind of repulsive to me. He made me sick because of the way he looked. So it was no bomb there, hell no. But I never walked down to that house with him when he'd go home, when he'd be playing with me and other kids at Thurman and Marlene, the corner there. But there's a damn connection. There's a connection there. Because back then, just like now, I knew that when you walk in the front door of that house, the front of the house, the garage was on the left of the single car driveway. And then when you walk in the house to the right, there was no window there. And there was a recliner that was sitting, you know, about the middle of the inner part of the house there. And then there was a television that was on a stand that also had the rack under it for magazines to go on. That was common back then. Alright, I know that. And then if you would have turned right, the kitchen would have been there, to where the sink was actually at the front of the house, on the inside of the house. And then you had the refrigerator and table and stove and that stuff. And then there was a hall that went straight back and there was 2 bedrooms. See, I know this. I know this. But going into that house is not one of my pre-birth experiences. So there's some kind of bond or connection. And not only that, also, on Sundays, here's something I literally knew as a boy, and I still know it today, and I can picture it and see it. She would be sitting in this recliner, and she would always have something to eat, and she would have some items she would eat directly out of the can. You know, that's also common. There's like fruit cocktail or potted meat with crackers, Libby's or Vienna sausages, or back then it was common Redbird sausages in a can. And then a plate of food, you know. I would see that in this vision. And this is what she would watch. She would sit down to watch television on Sundays. On Sundays. And it would be just around noon. Here in Houston, we had on, I think it was Channel 13 we had, at noon on Sundays, it would have, and it would be a starting, you know, the beginning of the movie, and it would be da-da-da-da-da-da, and it would be movie for a Sunday afternoon. Okay. I can see her doing this every Sunday, sitting down with some knickknacks to eat, and even a plate of food, and watching movie for a Sunday afternoon. I can see this. Also, not only that, I see her on the same Sundays, and I remember these episodes started about 4 p.m. The Outer Limits. The Outer Limits. She would watch an Outer Limits episode after she watched the movie for a Sunday afternoon, and then there would be like a 2-hour gap, and then she would watch the Outer Limits. Okay? And there's this binding link between me and this woman. Not attraction, not love, but there is a binding damn connection here, man. It's binding. And maybe the reason I don't remember that, what that's about, because maybe in a previous life, before my last life, maybe it was something I wanted to forget. And maybe another person she was, like in the 1800s, and it's something it's like I didn't want to remember, so it closed itself out of my mind, you know. But man, there's a connection. There is a connection here. But what could it be? Because see, here's something I do know. She never knew me. She never knew I existed. But I could have walked over there, and I know, even though I never talked to her or stood any closer than 30 feet, if she would have been at the grocery store maybe sometime I was there, she would have been the type, what do you want? Get out of here. She would have been that type. I just know that. I just know that. Which there's nothing wrong with that. Because back then, you know, people didn't want other people's kids. Some kids were mean, you know, and they might scratch their car or shit like that. I can understand that. What are you kids doing over here? Get away, go somewhere else. That was common. That's normal. You know, I'm that way now. If kids are in my driveway or just standing around. I'm like, what the hell are they doing, you know? It makes me nervous, you know, and I'll go look and they'll say, are y'all okay? That's how I have. Usually they'll leave, you know. It doesn't happen very often, but there's times that has happened. Oh man. But wherever she is, I don't know. I love her. I love her. And I do wish that I could have just sat down and watched one of those movies, Movie for a Sunday Afternoon with her. I don't know. What is it? You know, I'm wondering, maybe, you know, when I chose my mother to be born through, which is a liar and, you know, a bad person, I wonder if maybe it was meant to be, meant for me to choose that woman as my mother. Because what is the bond here? What is it? What is it? Because that woman was ugly. Now, she didn't look like she had a disease. She didn't have warts. I could see that just from looking at her in her car from our front yard when she drove by. No, she was just fat, and she wasn't attractive, and she was very simple, wearing potato sack, plain flat colors, you know, type dress. And I just look at her, and I know in my mind, like, yeah, she's going to the grocery store over there to Minimax. And I'd know on Sunday she was watching those two shows on television. And I even knew the layout of the inside of that house with that television, that recliner, the kitchen to the left, and then to the right of the front door there was a window, and then the garage. I know the layout of that house. Do any of you, a person you never walked up to and talked to, did you know what the inside of their house looked like and feel a connection? Have any of you experienced this? Wow. I mean, it's not a bad, it doesn't bring me fear. It makes me feel good. Because it's obvious what kind of a life this woman was living. She was living a simple, routine life. Living in that house, feeding herself, taking care of her little boy, watch TV for something to do. Yeah, I can understand that. Modest person. But I don't know. Maybe after I die, you know, or I'm on the other side, maybe I can talk to her and say, why did I always think about you and notice you? And she may look at me and say, oh, Earl. She may have the answer. I don't know. I don't know. But I think everybody has this in their life. They feel connections with certain things, but they just throw it off. Well, I never knew them. I don't know. It must be my imagination. And they just shove it away, you know. Anyway, just before I turned the video on to make this video, so I could bore y'all to death. Hopefully not, though. I put some, I take slab bacon and I'll cut it into 4 pieces, the whole thing. And then I'll take about 1/4 of the slices, but about that thick of bacon, and I'll put it out on a plate. And I'll put French fries or mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese, stick it in the microwave for 5 minutes. Um, so if any of you want to know, if you take bacon and put it on the plate, you microwave it in an 1100 watt microwave, 5 minutes, people, 5 minutes. And you'll have delicious bacon. Quit putting it in the skillet and getting all that smoke over the house, and hell, just microwave it and be done with it, you know. Oh well. But anyway, hope you're all doing good and enjoying our year of 2024. It will be as good as you people will make it, because you people cause life to be hell. Not the year or even this earth we live on, but the shit you people do, you people cause hell. The majority of you, people in general, make life hell when life could be heavenly. But anyway, later everyone, and bye for now. Until later, if I'm able. Da 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 da. I do this when I'm looking for the stop button with this tiny mouse there. I just go ahead and sing. Why not? Hell, might as well. Come on, mouse.